Hi, I'm Sarah Millsap from Craft Buddy. I'm going to take you through my top tips for arranging your autumn wreaths. Now, I decided to do not a spooky Halloween wreath, but an autumnal wreath. I've used the Forever Flowers autumnal wreath as the base, which comes with the foliage and some Christmas berries, but I've actually added in a few extras from my Forever Flowers collection. I've added in the autumn berries, also some autumn foliage. I've got in here some of our Amber Delight flowers, and I've also added the autumnal eucalyptus as well. I'm going to take you through why I've added these elements, and I'm pretty sure that there are things in your collection that you'll be able to add in because it's a collection that all works together. I'm sure if you raid your Forever Flower cupboards, you'll be able to do something very similar. I decided to add in the lovely Pedro the Pumpkin crystal art stamps as well, just for a bit of bling. Now, I haven't sealed them, but depending on the base that you gave them, you could put these outside if you made them water resistant. But I just thought it was gorgeous. You could have it on a shelf, at home, a few little pumpkins around for this time of year. I'm also going to do a spooky version as well, stay tuned for that. But I'm going to take you through my top tips of being able to get this fullness and the finish, and why I've added in the elements that I have, so that hopefully you can do the same at home as well. So I'm adding in the crystal art pumpkins. I've used the same colours as the apples as the base. I'm going to use the begonias and the peonies from our Amber Delight. I've got some of our autumn leaves left over from last year. Went on a bit of a forage and found some sticks. I love to add a natural finish. The autumn berries for texture and shape. The metallic apples actually come with your autumnal wreath base. And my utter favourite is this deep, dark, rich eucalyptus for the colour contrast. So I've started with the autumnal wreath base, and the foliage is on every spike on my wreath. Here I'm just adding in the autumnal leaves, and I'm attaching these with a hot glue gun. You can see that I'm putting the glue on the base of the leaf and just attaching them to the foliage. Now, I've used hot glue for lots of my wreaths before, and the elements will pull off really easily afterwards. It's easy to clean up. And here I'm just giving it that softness, which is why I've added in the bigger leaves. Adding in the berries is really nice for that bright texture and for that coloured finish. And of course, these branches give a lovely movement to the wreath as well. You can actually trim some of these down. So you'll see some I've taken the tops off, which I use on the internal section of the wreath. And the bigger ones, I'm just adding them around the outside so that it will give me that little bit of extra movement and contrast against the green leaves. What I like to do is position them all first, and once I'm happy, I'll glue them into place. If you're attaching them to the outside, so the deeper, thicker foliage on the outside of your wreath, I always find it better to put the hot glue on the top of the stick, because that way it's going to bond to the foliage above it. If you're going on the top side or the inside of the wreath, then I would put the glue underneath the leaves and you can push it down. So again, I'm just positioning the pumpkins now where I think I'd like them to go, what direction to face them in, and because these and the flowers are the main feature of the wreath, I'm just positioning them and making sure I'm happy. I like to put the flowers into the foliage as opposed to sitting proud up on top. I think it gives a really nice natural finish, and you just want to see them poking out. I quite like my wreaths to be very natural looking, so you can see I'm burying them underneath some of the leaves and using them to really showcase and highlight where the pumpkins are. You'll see that I'm also burying some of the pumpkins in and around the foliage. I don't want them to look like they're just stuck on top. I want them to look like they're growing out of it. So by arranging the foliage around it, it makes it all look very natural and like it's meant to be there. I actually decided against adding in the hydrangeas. I'd coloured them using a watercolour spray, but I did love the contrasting colour with the autumn eucalyptus. These are smaller stems, so I've cut down the stems from the set, and I've actually removed the buds from the top of them as well. Now you can see I'm burying a few individual leaves in. Don't be afraid to take your scissors out and trim down a few of the leaves. Where I couldn't put in a whole stem, it was nice just to bring that colour in and bury in a few of the leaves. And I did that in the brightest places, so against the flowers, against the berries, and against some of those brighter leaves. I do love to add sticks or twigs in just for a natural finish. I think it gives it more movement, and also it's a contrast against the plastic foliage as well. It just makes it look a little bit more natural and almost tricks your eye. So I gave these a little rough edging around the outside of the wreath and around the inner centre as well. And that way I've also got that little bit of movement within there too. I just think it gives a really nice finish, and I love the rougher edges. So I'm adding in the apples just around the pumpkins, and like I said earlier, I used the base colours of the apples to tie all of the wreath in together. You can achieve some beautiful finishes with some of your favourite Craft Buddy products.